All right, you're in the right place. This video is about weight training for beginners, what it should look like, why you should even start, and what your focus should be. What's up, everyone? I'm Irizarry. This is Alex Hall. We are the owners of JDI Barbell in New York, New York, the strongest gym in the Far East because of strength in numbers. We're going to talk about weight training for beginners.
So as you get older, strength training is the most important thing that you can do for your health. The best way to build strength is through compound movements that involve the most amounts of musculature. I think we got it that time. So where should you be doing this? The best place to do that is at a strength gym like ours. This is not just a shameless plug for our gym, right? Our gym and other strength gyms like our gym is the place where people can actually train, right? And train with free weights, train with barbells, and train with dumbbells, and do compound movements. We have more squat racks than we have of anything else. So despite what the fitness culture would have you believe that you need a million machines in order to get in shape, actually what you need are free weights, barbells, dumbbells, and squat racks.
And the thing that's interesting is that people will oftentimes search and ask about weight training, right? They want to get started in weight training, whether it be, using dumbbells or barbells. But the word powerlifting or power lifter, which is what we teach people here, like we teach powerlifting. That's not all we teach, but that's a big part of our business. That's a big part of our gym. Those seem like scary words. It's like those people over there do that. I just want to learn to weight train. But what we really have to understand is that powerlifting is just using 3 lifts as a marker to see if we're actually improving or not, okay? The markers that you're talking about in powerlifting, the squat, the bench press, the deadlift, okay? These are exercises that you would use to see if you're getting stronger, okay? So I would actually have like a 1 rep max on a squat, a bench press, or a deadlift. Or I could have a 5 rep max if I don't want to go that heavy, okay? But I have a marker to see that I'm gonna test this at a certain date in the future to see if I got better, to see if I got stronger, but to also see if my movements are better, right? I can record it or I can have a coach and stuff that actually gives me feedback and says, all right, your squat is a lot more fluid now, right? Like you're learning how to create balance better. You are doing this now without any inhibition or any hesitation when you squat down, right? That's an improvement, okay? So powerlifting is just using these markers to improve that. So when people think that there's a difference between weight training or strength training and powerlifting, it's not so much that there's a difference, it's just that we're gonna use the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift as your marker to see if you're improving or not.
So in this context, think about powerlifting as strength training with built-in metrics, right? You know when you're getting better because if you can't lift the weight, you're not getting better.
Metrics, that was the word I was thinking of, and he stole it. I've used it though in the past. So when you are a beginner and you're trying to figure out what to focus on as far as strength training, right? Instead of getting wrapped up in, should I use dumbbells or machines or barbells or this or that, okay? We should think about it instead about broader categories, okay? So the first thing that you should focus on is always doing compound movements first. Now, this flies in the face of what, unfortunately, a lot of strength coaches or whatever they want to call themselves will say, right? They'll say that we should do single leg, one-sided, unilateral movements first. Sounds all great and sounds very sciencey, okay? But the problem is that if we don't learn how to do compound movements first, if we don't know how to stabilize ourselves on 2 legs or using 2 arms in concert, using them at the same time, creating balance in our body, then our single leg exercises will always suffer after that, okay? So now I'm not saying that you have to always do compound exercises. I'm not saying that you should always do compound lifts, that you shouldn't then layer single leg exercises, single arm exercises on top of that. But you need to first figure out how to do compound movements remarkably well, okay? So doing the common uncommonly well. Can I squat perfectly according to my body, all right? Can I create perfect balance in my body? Can I create a perfect brace, okay? Can I create perfect tension in my body, right? Do I know how to stabilize myself under a heavy load, right? Whether I'm holding a barbell on my back or a dumbbell in front or whatever the hell you want to use, okay? But can I do this, right? Can I hinge well? Can I use both sides of my body, and can I stabilize those things all in one action, all right? So that's why we want to do compound movements first.
Okay, so a compound movement is a movement that involves multiple joints at the same time, or movement through multiple joints through the course of the movement, okay? Let's think of a simple example, a squat, right? A squat, what joints am I moving through? My hip joint, my knee joint, my ankle joint, right? So in the process, I'm involving a ton of musculature. I got right? I'm involving a ton of musculature, right? I'm using lots of muscles, and I'm moving through multiple joints in my body. A single joint exercise is a movement that involves only one joint, right? Think bicep curl, traditional, most meathead, fundamental one, right? All I'm moving through is my elbow joint.
So it's right on the meathead. So.
All right.
The second thing we want to do is that we want to focus more specifically on fundamental movements, okay? And this is something that we teach her a lot, including the squat, the hinge, the press, and both a horizontal press, right, which would be an idea of it, would be like a dumbbell press or a bench press, and the overhead press, okay? And carries, right? Carries meaning that I'm going to hold some kind of load, whether it be a sandbag or I'm holding 2 dumbbells or something like that, and I'm walking with it, or I'm doing, a short jog with it or something like that, okay? Because we need to learn how to stabilize our entire trunk, our entire body while we're carrying something heavy. Like that's one of the points of getting into strength training in general, right? We want to have, reserves of strength and power that we can use for everything else in life, okay? But going back to the squat and the squat and hinge, okay? Those can be whatever variation of squat that you want. You don't have to do a back squat. If a back squat is always aggravated an old injury, you don't have to do a back squat. You can do a goblet squat where you're holding a dumbbell here. You can do a front squat. You can do an overhead squat. It is whatever it is, right? But it needs to be the fundamental movement of a squat, meaning that you need to focus on these movements first, okay? The hinge, this is just bending over and coming back up, right? A very simple thing. The reason why this is a fundamental movement and why it's so important is because we need to learn how to disassociate our hips from our lower back, okay? People are hurting their backs, picking up laundry detergent because they don't know how to hinge from their hips using the entire hip musculature, okay? I said it right, all right? Using the entire hip musculature, I'll say it again, instead of just our lower back, okay? Now, that's not to say your lower back isn't involved in things like an RDL or a deadlift, right? It's still gonna contribute to that movement, right? But we need to use these big muscles right here, okay? And that's what we're learning in a hinge pattern, right? Pressing, the same idea, right? We need to learn how to horizontally push something, and we need to learn how to press something overhead, because there's going to be times in life where we have to hold something overhead or support something overhead or put something overhead, okay? The last thing is that we need to do body weight and free weight exercises, okay? Why? Both body weight and free weight exercises has its merit, okay? Simple example that I can use is that talking about a horizontal press, okay? Now I can do a horizontal press with a free weight. I can use a barbell, okay? So I would be laying down on the bench, right, and pressing a weight off of me, okay? Now when we teach a bench press here, okay, we teach a more powerlifting style approach to a bench presser, okay? Because it is the safest version for your shoulders, okay? What this means is that I'm basically gonna take my shoulder blades and I'm going to fix them in place. I'm thinking about pulling them together and pulling them down, right, okay? That's gonna put my shoulder in a position where it's less vulnerable to stresses, right? And it's gonna put me in a position where I can create strength in that motion without worrying about what's happening to my shoulder, okay? Now that's important because we need to learn how to push. We need to learn how to create force in that pattern, okay? But now a push-up is equally as beneficial because we also need to learn, and especially if we want to keep our shoulders healthy, we need to learn how to move our scapula, our shoulder blades, along our rib cage, okay? So ideally in a push-up, right, what you would see is that when you would come down and touch your chest to the floor, your shoulder blades would come in, right, and kind of rotate down, like this, okay? Now, when you press up, what should happen is that your shoulder blade should come up like this, okay? And so it should slide along your ribs like this, right? Now that's important because if your shoulder blades don't do that, you're inevitably gonna get some kind of injury or some kind of nagging pain, and it's gonna haunt you over and over again, and then you're gonna end up like me, and no one wants to end up like me.
These body weight exercises obviously only involve my body weight, right? Think pull up, push up, right? Free weight exercises are exercises that use free weights. So a free weight here, we have only 3 categories, right? Barbell, dumbbell, kettlebell. That's it. Nothing else is a free weight. And you remember, you tell them I said it.
Unless you use a sandbag. I'm not
All right, fine. So if you use this as just a foundational structure for how to structure a workout, right? This will take you through years of your lifting career, right? Just a very simple layout like this. Compound movement first, complex exercise, right? Complex fundamental exercise second, and then body weight, free weight exercises. If you structure every single one of your workouts like that, you're done weight training for beginners. All right? It's as simple as that.
All right, if you found that helpful, subscribe for more content like that. And you can check out our website, www.jdibarbell.com. Go do that and do that right now.